Coming up tonight in Our News, Chief Justice slams the country's court conditions, plus major renovations set to get underway at PMH, and the opposition changes course on the plastics ban.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, Chief Justice Brian Morey slamming the state of the country's courts, lamenting the leaky roofs and late start times. He made the damning comments while addressing a room full of attorneys during a ceremony to mark the opening of the new legal year.
Are we to spend more millions of dollars renovating and patching old, ill-suited buildings, or is it now sensible to stop this drain and actually do what we all know must be done? Build a new state-of-the-art customized court complex which reflects the aspirations and standards of the Bahamian people.
In a nearly hour-long speech, Chief Justice Morey slammed the state of the country's courtrooms, which he says failed to reflect the country's standards. Describing some of the challenges facing judges and other judicial officers, he had this challenge for any critics of his comments.
Spend 30 minutes to see the state of the physical infrastructure which we are working in. If it happens to be a rainy day, you should expect to get wet, or at least to navigate around the buckets and makeshift containers spread around the Swift Justice Building, which is now called Annex 2. They would see the leaking in Justice Winder's court and the holes in the ceiling and leaking in the Deputy Registrar's office, both in Annex 1. I think that they would be shocked at the conditions.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced last year that the old General Post Office will be the future home of a Supreme Court complex. Morey, fully aware of that promise, urged government to move forward.
That was his statement, not mine, but we certainly welcome it. I encourage the government to now move from where we have been for almost 2 decades to making this long sought-after project a reality.
Morey's comments were made as he addressed the judiciary at the start of the 2020 legal year. Despite the challenges with the courthouses, Morey put the attorneys gathered on notice that he expects court, specifically the magistrates' court, to start on time every day. He says several measures will be put in place, including ensuring that prisoners arrive at court by 9 a.m.
Members of the bar should take note that court will now start on time and govern themselves accordingly.
The Chief Justice also announced today that 2 senior judges are on pre-retirement leave. President of the Court of Appeal, Sir Hartman Longley, wasn't in attendance at the opening of the legal year, with Morey announcing that the judge's tenure is coming to an end.
Sir Hartman has had a remarkable career in the law. He is one of our most accomplished and distinguished jurists, having served as the head of 3 levels of our court system: Chief Magistrate, Chief Justice, and President of the Court of Appeal. His humble and quiet demeanor is the perfect temperament for a judge, and he is the quintessential personification of the ideal judge described by Socrates, who hears courteously, answers wisely, considers soberly, and decides impartially.
Senior Supreme Court Justice Vera Watkins, who served as acting Chief Justice until Morey's appointment last June, is also on pre-retirement leave.
Prior to my appointment in June of this year, the judiciary was under the leadership of acting Chief Justice Vera Watkins. As I stated in the annual report, acting Chief Justice Watkins provided the judiciary with much needed stability and continuity in the aftermath of the untimely death of former Chief Justice Stephen Isaacs. She is currently on pre-retirement leave, and I thank her for her long and distinguished service to the judiciary and to the country.
Both Longley and Watkins reportedly refused the opportunity to be recognized at a special sitting of the court.
For those of us who know them, that is disappointing but not surprising, given their humble and private lifestyles. I direct that it be recorded in the annals of this court, the judiciary's recognition and appreciation of the long and distinguished service of Sir Hartman G. Longley and Senior Justice Vera S. Watkins.
Phase 1 of a nearly $4 million renovation project at Princess Margaret Hospital is set to begin next week. The massive overhaul will mean changes at hospital entrances and the flow of vehicular traffic. This work is just a fraction of major construction expected at PMH this year, with officials revealing it will take $8.4 million to improve the public hospital. Jasmine Brown reports.
That announcement was made here at the Ministry of Health, where officials revealed that renovation project will take months to complete and will not only mean the closure of some main entrances of PMH, but also mean the closure of a main roadway. Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands said the renovations at the emergency departments are long overdue and much needed, given the thousands of patients treated at A&E each year.
The emergency department at Princess Margaret Hospital has received few upgrades over the last 2 decades. Although populations have continued to grow larger and to become sicker, demand for emergency department visits at Princess Margaret Hospital varies between 50 and 60,000 visits annually.
Because of the high volume of patients, Sands says there continues to be congestion and the chronic and well-known issue of long wait times. As a result, he says the renovation is being carried out in phases.
The decision was made to renovate the emergency department in 2 phases. The first of these phases began in November of 2019 and will, once completed, provide a dedicated space for orthopedic and wound care services at PMH, thus removing these services from the emergency department's current footprint. It will also address critical plumbing needs for the entire hospital and revamp the entrance to the emergency department.
Officials say phase 1 of the project will cost $3.8 million. Sands also revealed there will be major changes on Monday, as the main entrance to A&E will be shut down temporarily, prohibiting access to the entrance off Elizabeth Avenue. Consequently, he says emergency patients arriving by ambulance or private cars will be diverted to the maternity ward entrance on Sands Lane. Walk-in patients will enter the building through the main hospital lobby entrance at the critical care block or the legacy entrance off Shirley Street.
Phase 1 is anticipated to continue for 40 weeks. Phase 2 of the renovation, which will address the main floor of accident emergency, is expected to start this year, 2020.
Sands added that at some point in the near future, ongoing work will also result in the temporary closure of Elizabeth Avenue.
Because it's a change from the way we have done business, some people are likely to find it to be an inconvenience. That said, if we are going to dramatically improve the quality of the patient experience at Princess Margaret Hospital and accident emergency in particular, we are going to have to make some changes. You got to break some eggs to make an omelet.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, Prime Minister Dr. Whitminster left the country today for a personal trip. In a statement issued today, Cabinet Office noted that Minister was traveling abroad until Saturday but did not indicate where he went. Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest will act as Prime Minister in his absence. Despite voicing support for the Environmental Protection Bill in the House of Assembly last year, Opposition Leader Philip Davis now says the PLP does not support the legislation amid pushback during the transition period, which requires shoppers without reusable bags to purchase plastic bags. Davis said government should have gone about the rollout of the plastics ban differently.
Our position is that there should be no charge for the remaining plastic bags in inventory. This is a case of taking more monies out of the pockets of ordinary working Bahamians who can least afford it and transferring these funds into the bank accounts of wealthy business owners. This is wrong, and I call on the government to reverse this bad decision.
While some stores like Solomon's Fresh Market and Costrite have done away with plastic bags, SuperValue, and some restaurants are selling plastic bags for 25 cents to $1 during the 6-month transition period. Davis labeled the single-use plastic ban as poorly planned and poorly rolled out. He also questioned if it would affect packing boys in grocery stores.
Our approach would have been to have a transitional period that would include a complete understanding of those products that are packaged in plastics and how we are to deal with those, and then have a more of a regulated disposal of plastic products, where you could have where you have them separated, a separation of the products and a proper disposal of it until you reach the point where you could then extinguish it.
Police Commissioner Anthony Ferguson's assertion that parents are to blame for abusive police officers has sparked strong reactions among Bahamians. While some people asserted that both the police force and parents are to blame, others slammed the commissioner's comments. Bethany McDermott has that.
Following the police commissioner's claim that poor parenting and dishonesty on the part of family members is to blame for less than ideal civilians being recruited to join the force, residents took to social media to express outrage. One Facebook user said he lost and he need training himself. Another said, "Wake me when police realize they are not above the law, but are only there to protect the innocent, serve the country, and not beat the brakes off them." And another said, "Boss man, you train the police in the order they should conduct their jobs, and if they mess up, fire them."
I think it does have to do with training, because at the end of the day, no matter how you were raised, you enter the police force, you should be trained to treat people a certain way.
Meantime, other people we spoke to said both the police force and parents are to blame.
The entire Bahamas needs to be reordered. People need to know that the seeds sown today spring and become what? Monsters. So what we need to do as a people, come together. The commissioner must know that there is an expectation from the police how to treat the public, and then the public must know that the police are charged with the peace and safety of this nation.
I think it's a combination of both. I don't think one particular individual should be blamed.
Do with both sides at the end of the day, but more so once they enter the police force, then it's up to whoever their instructor is to drill them into being what they need to be to serve the country.
Yesterday, Ferguson alluded to a Bible verse which calls for parents to train up their children in the way they should go, as he sought to drive home the point that the bad apples on the police force are the byproduct of poor parenting. Now, while some residents say the blame should be placed on both the police force and parents, others say the blame should go solely to the parents, as they say the way the parents raise these officers has everything to do with the way they turn out as adults.
Parents are everything to do with the way that their children are raised and the way that their children turn out.
I think he is right. It is the parents, but half of it would be like the environment they let their children go in and the friends they hang out with.
Last week, a video made the rounds on social media of police officers wielding batons at young persons attending the New Year's Day Junkanoo Parade. Ferguson said complaints have been filed against the police officers and the matter is under investigation. Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Still to come on Our News, penile implant surgeries on the rise, plus Rand Memorial repairs continue. Stay tuned.
From TV to phone to fast internet, how can we show appreciation for the 25 years you've been with Rev? To celebrate our 25th birthday, Rev is rewarding 250 lucky customers with $250,000 cash back. Simply switch to Trio, upgrade to Trio, or pay your bill in full and have your chance to win cash this Christmas. Just call 601-8992 or email us at trio@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
Welcome back. They're calling it a boost for health tourism here in the Bahamas, a different kind of surgery, helping men feel a bit better about themselves. Kyle Joaquin speaks with a local doctor about the increase in penile implant surgeries performed in the Bahamas.
Too many men living in silence, living in fear that they're the only one going through this.
Dr. Gregory Pinto has performed the procedure nearly 500 times, and his patients range in age from 19 years old to 85. It's called penile implant surgery, designed to give men the upstanding confidence some have been lacking.
It's a self-contained device. Even your partner will not even know that you have it. It's placed minimally invasively. It can even be done as an outpatient. There's not a single incision in the actual penis itself, so there's no visible scarring. So even if your partner were to palpate, to feel, they won't be able to feel that you actually have the device. The device actually becomes a part of you.
The procedure involves the device being implanted, which then allows the man with the push of a button to inflate it when necessary. Dr. Pinto said aside from just being something that can help with size and girth, the implant surgery has also become beneficial to men suffering from numerous non-communicable diseases.
So in many ways, erectile dysfunction is an early warning sign of something more sinister going on, whether it's undiagnosed or poorly controlled diabetes or hypertension or cardiovascular disease or heart disease. So if we pick that up early, and I've done it many, many times in my career, we can save someone from having a stroke 10 years down the road, or a heart attack 8 years down the road, or make sure that uncontrolled diabetes becomes controlled so you don't lose your eyesight, you don't go into kidney failure, you're not ending up on dialysis.
And now men from all over the world, particularly Europe, have begun coming to the Bahamas to have the procedure done, providing a new aspect of health tourism.
So you can wrap it up in terms of a great big vacation in the Bahamas, sea, sand, and sun, and then you come back a new man in many ways.
The procedure, according to Dr. Pinto, is usually covered by medical insurance and is 100% confidential.
You basically can go from, I guess I'll say in layman's term, you can go from a dud to a stud. Yeah. You can always rise again.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Massive repairs at Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama are progressing steadily, according to Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, who said work on one of the wards has been completed.
There are a number of teams working. The Carnival team have completed the Dia ward. They are now working in the main hallway headed towards the operating theater recovery room.
The public health institution sustained severe flood damage, and about 80% of the building was exposed to black water intrusion. The flooding led to rust and mold issues. In November, the government signed an MOU with Carnival Corporation for the renovation of the Rand. However, Sands says other issues were discovered within the aging building, including termites and rotten wood. As a result, he says additional workers were hired to help speed up the restoration process.
Anytime you do a renovation, you find things. And so what we have had to do now is to augment the Carnival team with a local team to deal with issues that had nothing to do with Dorian.
When Our News comes back from the break, Bahamians react to crime stats. Stay tuned.
From TV to phone to fast internet, how can we show appreciation for the 25 years you've been with Rev? To celebrate our 25th birthday, Rev is rewarding 250 lucky customers with $250,000 cash back. Simply switch to Trio, upgrade to Trio, or pay your bill in full and have your chance to win cash this Christmas. Just call 601-8992 or email us at trio@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
Bahamians weighing in on new crime statistics, which show a 7% dip in crime. Some say while crime is down, the fear of crime is not. George O'Bain reports.
Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson revealed during a press conference on Tuesday that while overall crime decreased by 7% in 2019, murders and armed robberies have increased. Jacqueline Bain said though overall crime is down, the fear of crime is the real problem that must be addressed.
It really could be, but what you see around you and what you hear doesn't give evidence that it's down. I do not feel safe in the country, going to my home.
These residents agreed and called for stronger police presence in local communities to help residents feel safe.
No, I don't agree. Crime is still up. And this new year, 2020, how much murders? 4 or 5? No, I don't think crime is down.
Yeah, of course it's worrying, and I think people need to be on the guard and to take precautions.
The commissioner said he's encouraged that the murder count for 2019 remained under 100 for the second consecutive year, but noted that it doesn't mean there can be complacency when it comes to the effort to curb the murder rate. He promised more vigilance on behalf of police officers. Former police officer William Brister said he thinks police officers are doing the best they can, adding that he feels very safe.
I live in Baintown and I feel very, very safe.
They fighting crime as best as they could, but they can't really control the crime. The criminals out there, you know. I feel pretty safe.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgie O'Bain.